So we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to start with a bare frame, and we're going to be cutting off all the motor mounts and the seat tubes. Some of the tools we recommend would be a metal scribe, a cutoff tool, and an angle grinder. You could use a hacksaw if you'd like, or a Dremel tool, but these tools we highly recommend. We're going to start with the top right motor mount. We're showing a bare frame just for reference to make the video easier. Here you're going to see that we're going to measure 1 3/4 inches with my caliper. You can use a tape measure if you'd like, but a caliper is highly recommended. On the bottom right motor mount, we're going to be cutting off here at 1 3/4 inches also, 1.75. On the left motor mount, we're going to be marking at 1.5 inches in, and on the top left motor mount, we're going to be marking at I believe this is 1 inch in, exactly 1 inch in. And on the bottom left motor mount, shown in this image, we're going to be cutting off a 1/2 inch. So you're going to use the dial caliper at those measurements. You can either scribe it with your metal scribe, but the end result we're going to want to go ahead and tape it off with masking tape as shown in this video. So here I have all my motor mounts masked off in order to make cutting easier. Now, as I said earlier, you can use a Dremel tool if you like. I suppose you could even use a hacksaw if you like, but we recommend getting some sort of angle grinder or a 4.5 inch grinder with a cutoff wheel. Get yourself a cutoff tool of some sort to make this job a lot easier. Here's the left side of the frame with the masking tape at the exact points we're going to be cutting. Once you go ahead and have all those motor mounts masked off, we can go ahead and start the cutting process. These next still images show me cutting off the motor mounts with a 4.5 inch, or actually a 3.5 inch angle grinder. This is an air powered tool. You could use an electric 4.5 inch angle grinder with a cutoff wheel also. Whatever makes your life easier. You could use a Dremel tool also with a cutoff disc. Here's video of the freshly cut motor mounts. And I recommend using the 4.5 inch angle grinder with a flapper disc grinding wheel as shown in this next image to clean the motor mounts. So here's the 4.5 inch grinder, but with the flapper disc grinding attachment wheel. And these are the smoothed off motor mounts on the frame. Now once again, we're using a bare frame in this video for reference so that it's easy to see what we're doing. But we obviously know that you'll probably have your motor in the frame when you're doing this process. It's completely doable with the motor and motorcycle together. It's no problem. So this video is showing the freshly cut motor mounts. Here they're smoothed and ground with my 4.5 inch angle grinder. Here's the bottom left. Next we're going to go ahead and cut the original tank mounts off the frame. Now these don't require measurements, we just want to get these pretty close to the frame. Here they are freshly cut, and then also ground smooth with my 4.5 inch angle grinder. You could do this with a Dremel tool too, also with a grinding attachment if you prefer. Here's some video of the freshly ground motor mount tabs, or motor mount tabs, tank mount tabs. Next we're going to take off the original key switch bracket by the left rear shock mount. Here's video of the key switch bracket that we're going to be cutting off. I would do this also with the same tools, and when you're done, smooth it with the 4.5 inch angle grinder or Dremel tool, whichever you prefer. Other tabs that you don't have to cut off, but you can, would be this tab here on the side of the frame, and there's also another one next to the upper right rear shock mount. You can cut those two tabs off if you want. They're not used. We chose to leave them because they're not shown once the side covers are installed. Alright, now here's the big job. We're going to be cutting the seat tubes off this frame in order to install the Cafe Racer seat. The seat needs to be lower in position on the frame, so these seat tubes need to come off. Now, we recommend using a dial caliper. A digital caliper works really well. These are inexpensive, $20 to $30 at the most, and these will make your life so much easier. You can use a tape measure if you'd like, but a dial caliper makes your life so much easier. So anyways, what we're going to be doing here is on the seat tubes, you see there's a bolt hole that's in the same place on all the frames. From the bottom of that bolt hole, as shown in this video, to the mark we have on our frame is 1.8 inches. Now you're going to set your dial caliper and lock it into position at 1.8 inches. And you're going to mark the frame as shown in this video. See, I'm locking into that bolt hole, the bottom edge of the bolt hole, and I'm coming down on the frame. And what I'm doing here is either with my scratch awl or the dial caliper itself, I'm making a small mark. And as you see on this seat tube, I'm leaving just the bare metal. On the other seat tube, I chose to use masking tape because you can do this process with a pen also. But I wanted to show two different alternatives to cutting the seat tubes. So on the top of this frame right here, at 1.8 inches, I'm going ahead and scribe a line right on the seat tube itself. You can actually see me using the dial caliper itself to make the mark. 1.8 inches, mark the front top of the original frame seat tube. On this next shot, we're going to be doing the same exact process, but instead of scribing it, I decided to use an ink pen. So here's the caliper in place, and you can go ahead and just mark that with a pen if you want, if you think that way is easier. Whichever way you choose, it really makes no difference. If you do the masking tape, just make sure the masking tape is stuck down very well to the seat tube. And then the same thing on this side, the next still image shows 1.8 inches is exactly where I need to make my front mark. Okay? From the bottom of the bolt hole to the seat tube, 1.8 inches, you go ahead and make your mark. Now for the underside. Now this can get a little tricky because it's a little harder to see, but 0.65 inches is what we're going for here. So from the same spot on the bolt hole, the bottom edge of the bolt hole, to the underside of the seat tube, as shown in this video on the masking tape side, 0.65 inches is where we need to mark. Here's a still image of what I'm talking about. Underneath, the caliper is upside down, but 0.65 inches is where we need to either scribe a mark or mark a mark with our pen. Once that's marked, now what you need to do is draw a perfectly level line around the frame. Here I did it in an ink pen, and on the other side I did it with my metal awl, my scratch awl or my scribe, whichever you like to use. So here's the pen, and there's my scratch awl. As you see, the line goes vertical across. It goes horizontally, exactly level from front to back marks on the thing. Now the key is when you cut this, you want to make sure you cut it above the line. You can always take off more metal, but you can't add metal, well, unless you have a welder. But make sure when you cut the frame here that you're going to cut above the lines. Now these next videos, I'm going to do this in real time to show that this is not a time-intensive process. I'm going to be cutting the frame in real time here. This is not edited, so we can show that this entire process only takes a minute or two to cut each seat tube. So I'm using my 3.5 inch cutoff wheel. Now this is an air powered tool. You can use the 4.5 inch angle grinder with a cutoff blade. Those are widely available for $20 at your local Harbor Freight or Home Depot. Any of these tools are pretty inexpensive. The whole lot will cost you less than $50, and you can do this. I know, now you see me moving the frame around to make this easier for myself, but you can get to all these spots even with the motorcycle together. A Dremel tool will also work just fine. It's small, compact, and easy to get into the tight places that you need to get into. Now, within a matter of 2 minutes, I'd say, I have the right seat tube completely cut off. Now, you want to take your time when you're doing this and make sure your lines are nice and straight. Like I said, try to cut above the lines so that you can have a little extra material to work with. So there, that seat tube is now cut. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing. Well, here's a still image of the cut seat tube. It's a little jagged, but it can be cleaned up with the 4.5-inch angle grinder. Now in this video, I'm showing the cutting of the same thing on the masking tape side. Just go ahead and cut right through the masking tape, slightly above your line that you marked earlier. The end result, what we're trying to do is get this seat pan that's included with the CS-1 kit to sit perfectly level on the frame in conjunction with the, in line with the gas tank. The next images are going to show how we'll use the 4.5-inch angle grinder with the flapper disc grinding attachment to clean up those seat tubes. What we're going to do is, we're going to clean the cut and clean off any jagged metal that we have. But more importantly, we're going to be making sure that the seat pan sits flat across both seat tubes. Now here's an image of the freshly cut tubes. So this shows as they're directly after they're cut right off the right from the 3.5-inch cutoff tool. Now I cleaned them up just a little bit to take off the edges in this still image with the angle grinder. Now the next images we're going to show are of the with the side cover attached and the tank attached. Now don't worry about the how to attach the tank and the side cover at this point. We're going to have another instructional video on the installation of the kit. This is just going to show you how to level the frame once you have the seat and the seat assembly. So you're going to be receiving the seat assembly and the seat pan together as one. Here we're just showing the seat pan to make the video easier. Here in this next image, you're going to see how the back end of the frame is a little high, and there's a little bit of a gap in the front of the frame. So that's when you take your 4.5-inch angle grinder and clean the back edge of the frame tubes. Now do this incrementally. Let's do this in small increments because you want to have an end result with a nice flat seat tube and the seat pan sitting down, as shown in these next still images. Now the seat pan is going to sit flat on the top frame rails. And when you receive your kit, you're going to have the seat assembly attached to the seat pan. Like I said earlier, this seat pan is by itself just for reference in the video to show the desired effect we're going for. Now here in this image, we're showing the finished product, the fiberglass seat, which will be attached to your seat pan when you receive the kit, and then set on top of the frame tubes. Now what this is showing is that you want, as in this image, you want the seat to line up with the side covers as well as with the freshly cut gas tank. So that's it for now. That's just showing your cutoff of the frame and the motor mounts for the CS-1. Stay tuned for more videos. We're going to put them up as soon as we finish them. Here's a shot of Casey riding off on the CS-1.